It's actually an important thing because we make decisions about how we're going to deal with energy based on a metric of how we measure and count it. And it's counterproductive, and particularly counterproductive in terms of how we talk about how we're going to conserve energy. Because we worry about inefficiencies, we want to conserve, so we're counting BTUs. And we may do counterproductive things. Which brings me to my sixth principle, which has to do with how we ostensibly save energy. Because energy conservation is always a sine qua non of every energy policy in every State of the Union, in every administration in this country and everywhere, whether dictatorships or democracies. Everybody genuflects to energy conservation. And the favorite bipartisan way to achieve energy conservation is through improving energy efficiency. No one disagrees. It is the single point of universal agreement and bipartisan harmony in my entire energy life in Washington, D.C., that we should improve the energy efficiency of the U.S. economy. Here's the principle. Here's the problem. Improving energy efficiency increases energy demand. Sounds silly. It's a heresy. I know that. But it does. Look, the U.S. economy is twice as energy efficient today as it was 50 years ago, 2 times better. And our energy use has gone up 250%. Over the next 50 years, we'll improve energy efficiency, I think, probably threefold. I think we probably will. I think it's technically achievable, and we'll use more energy. Let me explain how by way of example. Of course, first thing is it's seductive but entirely uninformative. In fact, it's almost stupid, but I hesitate to use that word because it's an unkind word. To note that if I take an inefficient device, a light bulb, away and put a more efficient one there, that that efficiency has saved energy. As my kids said when they were younger, like, no duh, right? Brilliant. That doesn't tell you a thing, because that doesn't tell you anything about what goes on in the larger economy when you improve efficiency. Because every time you improve the efficiency of one device, one place, there are thousands and millions of other devices that are put into play and into use that consume energy or electricity. And frequently, the absolute use of the device that you replace goes up, precisely because you improve the efficiency. Lighting efficiency, by the way, is about 1,000,000-fold better today than it was at the dawn of civilization. And it gets better all the time. And we use more illuminary photons today than any time in human history, and that will continue. At the most basic level of economic reality, improving efficiency reduces cost. Think about it. That's what it is. It's an economic synonym for reducing cost. And in free societies, when you reduce the cost of something, the consumption of it goes up. People use more of it. They find more ways to use that thing that they wouldn't have used before because it was too expensive to use it that way before. It is how economies work. I'll give you a historic example, just one obvious one, because it relates to an earlier principle about the information economy. The first computer was 1946, the ENIAC, for those of you who are technology historian junkies. The ENIAC was a big computer. It used a lot of energy. It was huge. It consumed, for those of you who didn't know, 17,000 watts of energy. It's a lot more than, it's like a village worth of energy for one computer. Computers today are roughly 1,000,000-fold more energy efficient. You measure computing efficiency by the amount of energy taken per logic operation. We're 1,000,000-fold more efficient. But instead of one computer on the planet, we make hundreds of millions of them a year. Hundreds of millions. Measured for more recent times, since say 1974, 73, when the first modern energy crisis occurred, computing efficiency has gone up 1,500%. In the last 10 years alone, computing efficiency has gone up 300%. The net effect? We use more electricity for computing. Radical improvements in energy efficiency have produced and continue to produce and will always produce unexpected benefits. Look, energy efficiency is what makes companies like Apple and Google possible. If Google operated its computing centers at the energy efficiency of the ENIAC, the first computer, a single Google data center would require the entire energy output of New York City. At the energy efficiency of the early communications industry, an iPhone would be the size of a steamer trunk, and a single cell tower would be bigger than the Washington Monument. So instead of that, we have staggering improvements in energy efficiency and in technology efficiency. And now we have thousands of data centers, billions of computers and cell phones. They become a ubiquitous part of our economy, a productive part of our economy, and an energy-consuming part of our economy. Because listen, you're going to hear that It's going to get more efficient. I mean, this is when I say this to people, they say, oh, it's okay. It's not, that problem's going to go away because computers are going to get more efficient. We're going to have Energy Star labels, and it's going to get more efficient, and that problem will go away. First, I don't think it's a problem, but that gets it backwards. That's what created the problem, the efficiency. The second half of the 20th century saw the United States GDP, which was productivity driven. Our GDP growth came from productivity growth. It went up sixfold. Essentially because, as everybody knows, because of new technologies and product. Our energy growth went up at less than half that rate. Energy use will grow because of technology and because of efficiency. Which brings me to my final, seventh principle. Energy demand always rises. This is also a heresy, because if you think about what people are saying, either implicitly or explicitly, is many policies are really oriented towards the idea that we can reduce energy consumption, really reduce energy consumption, and that we should. Whether we should or not is a different issue. Could we? The problem with the idea is that throughout, you sort of, if you're an investor or if you're a prognosticator, you sort of want to bet on long-run trends. I mean, that's sort of what I do. For 10,000 years, energy demand has gone up. Since the dawn of civilization, energy demand has been rising. And it's rising as a direct measure of increased affluence, which comes from dominantly technology and progress. The only time energy demand in societies goes down is when there are pandemics, the plague, global wars, or totalitarian societies that do the equivalent to their own people. And briefly, only briefly, when there are depressions and recessions, which is where we are. And I don't think it's where we want to be. Technology progress brings economic and social progress, and it brings rising energy consumption. Energy consumption is simply a surrogate measure of the rising affluence and the well-being of a population, and vice versa. So global energy demand will rise again. Developed nations will continue the transformation from a post-industrial society to an information-centric era. Developing nations, you can bet, are not only poised to simultaneously industrialize, but they're also poised to leapfrog into information economies. This past year, I've been to China a couple times, visited, I think, a dozen cities and about 20 companies. They're poised, I promise you, in every respect, as is everybody else on the planet, to not just industrialize, but to leap into the information economy. In the next 20 years, this global transformation and growth will likely add something like $30 trillion to the global GDP. And energy demand will grow. Don't know how much, could be by as much as 50%. Certainly won't decrease. The energy growth rate that's probable is equal to the annual energy consumption of France each year. It's those this kind of reality, I think, is the central challenge of our time. And look, it's a subject for another day about how we meet the challenge. I can tell you I believe firmly from my own experience and research that technologies do exist to meet these challenges in the energy sector for both supply and how we consume energy. But it should be obvious, I would hope, by just the sheer magnitude and the vital importance of energy, that we really don't have the luxury of puerile choices among energy sources. We need everything that's on the table with respect to how we can produce and use energy sensibly. And of course, it's fundamentally because reliable energy and its abundance and its availability and is what enables a productive and job-creating society. Thank you very much.